One line definition, it's not a one mark question. It's not fill in the blanks, right? It's a very complex idea, and for each person it's different. And there are different ways of being a change maker. So it's good to have these role models in your mind, so that you can then help your students become change makers when they have ideas and they want to solve problems. And there are pathways to do that, role models to inspire them, right? Our teachers are back.
But we come up with Changemaker is someone who tries to contribute to the society without expecting much in return. In short, like selfless, who is initiative, who tries to bring transformation, and innovative.
Of maybe giving an impression of who changemakers is. Over the next 1 hour, we have some of the major changemakers in Nagaland. Of course, the Principal Secretary himself.
So I think that's where our journey began, right? And then there was a pandemic that we sort of fought through. I think if there is anything that the pandemic has taught us, it's that it's a constantly changing environment, and our young people and even us, we really need to know how to operate in this changing environment and be able to succeed. I think since then we have been in touch with, and we've been talking with the department, and one of the things we realized is that if we need our students to grow up differently and their what success means to them, if that needs to change, we need our teachers on our side, right? We need them to be the ambassadors of change making. We need them to see the power of having a young person changing the world, changing their community. So, and that's how the idea of working with you all as change-making ambassadors sort of began. So I'm just trying to take you through the journey on how we sort of got here.
Programs keep happening, even in our department programs keep happening. You keep attending trainings, but my request to you would be, whenever you attend, don't just make it a formality that you have to attend, but take some inputs from here and take it to the field and see if you can share these inputs and make an impact on the lives of many children whom you are teaching. That's more and more important. In Nagaland, we don't get many opportunities like this. Our heartfelt thanks to Ashoka for coming here. Actually, we don't get many opportunities like this, especially with the geographical position where we are in India, and the remoteness and the difficulty in reaching here. So people hardly try to come or contact. So that's why from the department side also we take some extra effort to reach out to you all, and we feel really happy when people like you contact us and be ready to come here and take your time to help our teachers and students. So opportunities are limited not only for the teachers, even for the students. We all have been students once, so even I have been a student in Kerala. So when we grow up in the schools, we get a lot of opportunity, whether it's different competitions, quiz competitions, or some personality contest. We get a lot of opportunity and a lot of exposure, and that is what is lacking to our children here. So it's our duty to change the generation. Being the teachers, Nagaland has been through tough times in the last 40, 50, 60 years almost. 60 years we are completing statehood in 2023. So we have been through tough times, whether be it the remoteness and be it the law and order situation, security situations. We have been through tough times where people don't come here much and we don't get any opportunities. What's happening is just the classroom interaction between you, the teachers, and the students. But we fail to know what exactly is happening in the rest of the country and the rest of the world when it comes to the education. So recently I had an opportunity to go and attend one international conference also in London. It was like an EdTech conference, Educational Technology Platform Conference. So this EdTech, education technologies, is a term we are not very used to. The first exposure for us to the EdTech platforms were during the COVID times. Even then, we had a lot of challenges that many of our schools are in the remote areas, rural areas, where we don't get a good connectivity, where we'll think and question ourselves whether we actually should be doing it or improve the connectivity. But see, when the rest of the world is moving ahead, we should at least give it a try, and there should be a beginning. So in this conference when I attended, there were like interesting solutions even to improve the computation and scientific thinking of the students from the early classes, from the primary classes to the middle classes and all, through very, very simple solutions. And we know in Nagaland, our students, they are also not so confident in maths and science, so that people don't like to go for the science streams when they grow up, but they get settled where they are, and we lack the scientific and mathematical temper in Nagaland. So there are a lot of interesting solutions, and there is a lot of exposure to what we can do for our students. And you alone cannot do it.
Basically because you people hold the future of Nagaland. A lot of times in a place like India and Nagaland, people tend to give low importance or lower importance to teachers, which is actually a fallacy. Because without teachers, we cannot build a society. Without teachers, we cannot build a nation. And sadly, in Nagaland, teachers' job also have been seen as a source of employment avenue. There seems to be less passion, less calling, less devotion to our profession. Rather, a lot of times I keep making fun of politicians as politicians, which is not true. Because I realized I was very fond of criticizing politicians when I was a student leader way back in the early 90s. And I didn't realize I would have been much more of a cheater had I not re-examined my thoughts and my way of living. And when I realized I can easily steal a chicken, then I thought, well, in those days, S.C. Jamir was the chief minister. If I become a chief minister of Nagaland, I would be stealing elephants. And so it became an awakening call for me to question my own inner self. And that opened up a lot of understanding that I had to change. And I found out that encouragement from my teachers, encouragement from my college education helped me a lot to become what I call a social entrepreneur. And so, your work is very important. There will be, I'm sure, thousands of people, young people, who can become a social change maker like people like us. A lot of times in Nagaland, people introduce me as an entrepreneur, which is wrong. And I keep telling them that I am not an entrepreneur, but I'm a social entrepreneur. So in the year 2000, when I was given the title of Ashoka Fellow, I thought that just fitted me, because I didn't know how to introduce myself, because I was not an entrepreneur, but I was promoting entrepreneurship. And so how did that journey begin? You know, when I was in school in 1982, I came from the village and I joined UKG when I was 8 years of age, so quite late. And that's because I was quite tricky, if not naughty, because in our village school, we had a big hall in the bamboo wall. And so when the teacher calls our name, my head will be inside the classroom and say, when they call Izute, I will say, Bell, means I'm present. And then the moment the teacher takes note, I will sneak out. And that's how I couldn't get education in many ways. And that is why I want to thank you all for coming to this program. And what Bill Drayton, he said, the one single factor that determines society's success is the percentage of change makers within it. I think this defines Naga society. Therefore, why is it important for schools and colleges to change and appreciate change makers' mindset? That is important because if we remember the story of Thomas Alva Edison, the teachers slapped him, and that's the reason why he was half deaf. And the teacher wrote a letter to his mother saying that your son is stupid, I cannot teach him, he cannot be in this school. And the story goes on. When the mother saw the letter, she started crying. And Thomas Alva Edison asked his mother, "Mother, what is it?" And she smiled at him and said, "My son, the teacher has written that you are so intelligent, so bright, that you can't be studying in the normal class. So I will now teach you from home." And Thomas Alva Edison never knew what the teacher wrote until his mother died. After his mother died, he found it in one of the chests and realized how his mother actually did not destroy his ego, because she decided that her son is not stupid. And that's one reason why we have this light bulb. I don't think if Thomas Alva Edison was to have studied in a normal school, we might not have this as early as we have. So some journalists, their stories goes that some journalists asked him, and some books recorded that he took 300 times to get this light bulb properly running. Some say 3,000, some say 1,200 times. But a journalist asked him, "How does it feel for you to have failed 1,000 times?" He said, "I never failed. I took 1,000 steps before I could actually get the things right." And so this type of thinking comes in from schools and teachers. And that's where teachers become our nation builders. However, in Nagaland, a lot of times, many teachers don't take it that way. And that is going to be a real challenge. Years ago, during the Teachers' Day in Bata area, there was a caption in a local newspaper where they celebrated Teachers' Day. They had in the photograph 11 students and 18 teachers. I am now the School Management Committee chairman for one of the schools here in Kohima. And in our school, mostly the laborers' children would come and attend because their parents can't afford them to be studying in private schools. And the Nectar project, the World Brand project, I am told the logo has been designed by one of our students. And I said, my gosh, what creativity. And so we are trying to encourage students to be creative, to teach them how to be able to make money without getting a government job. And one of the first steps that we are going to start is to create fruit tree nurseries, because our office, we have decided to plant 1 billion fruit trees, 200 million fruit trees by 2035. Because of the pandemic, we are supposed to plant 2 million fruit trees by 2025, but till last year we could plant only 360,000. With this year, we hope we can reach up to 1 million, if not 1 million. Definitely by 2024, we will be able to plant 2 million fruit trees ahead of our target.
In school, we started working on the environment, and then in college, we started something called the Second Chance Project on promoting organ donation. Yeah? So we'd love to learn more about that. Next, I'd like to invite Prajal. Prajal Regni from Sikkim. So Prajal, Bangladesh Open, to promote local performing arts and all of that. So we'd love to learn more about that. And lastly, I'd also like to invite Regina, who's from nearby, from Dimapur. I don't know the exact name of the place. I cannot pronounce that. I'd rather not. Thank you, Regina, for joining us. Regina also studied fashion and has been a professor at the Open University, and now also running your own fashion brand and store at your place. So you wanted to do something. What was that moment? What was that eureka moment for you in your journey?
So firstly, thank you so much for having me here. And thank you to all the teachers for coming when I was about 18 years old. It is known as the Second Chance Project. And through that, I aim to raise awareness about organ donation and transplantation in India. For me, I think it started out from a personal journey because I saw one of my family members go through a kidney failure. He was looking for an organ donor, but unfortunately, he couldn't find it. That is something which got me thinking, and as a young person I did not know what to do about it because there are a lot of medical aspects with it, a lot of legal aspects surrounding this cause. I researched more about what organ donation is, how the process works in India, and I felt that as a young person I could probably start doing awareness at the grassroots level. And I started talking to people for that. Though there were a lot of people who motivated me, there were a lot of challenges as well. But for me, that Eureka movement was when I also saw the stories of other young people leading change and doing something. Because as a young person, I felt that such organizations or such social issues can only be tackled by people who are of a certain age group, who might be above 30 years and who have done some considerable amount of work in their lives. But just the fact that age is not a barrier in this, but anyone, anywhere can start their change-making journeys. And that is one thing which I felt like was a Eureka movement for me. The fact that, I can do something and just, going ahead with that sort of self-doubt which I had, that I cannot do it. So just the fact that anyone, anywhere can start their change-making journeys, you can start young, was a Eureka movement in my journey.
I'm from Sikkim, and at the age of 16, I started a social entrepreneurship that was Nepalese Open Mic. So basic concept of Nepalese Open Mic was we are providing a platform to the local artists. Like there are lots of platform regarding this dance, singing, and all those things, but not for the poetries, not for the people who want to motivate our society. And so I started this Nepalese Open Mic back in my college days because I was so connected with these poetries, Sahitya, environment kind of things. I used to stay there. Like when I was in class 6, I used to travel 70 kilometers to the next state. I was working with their organizer in Kalimpong, which was in West Bengal. So basically, the idea of Nepalese was to promote our local artists to the whole world. Because I'm talking about the Northeast state only because I have coming up with the initiatives of Ripra Clothing. Ripra Clothing is a native clothing brand which will promoting the 271 plus tribals community of Northeast India in a global forum through the fashion. So we have a very big opportunity and a very big potential in Northeast, in fashion, nature, anything you in, but we should promote it and I'm working on that. Yeah, thank you so much, Steve.
And I'm very happy to be amongst the educators and social entrepreneurs to be sharing my story of an entrepreneur. I'm a fashion entrepreneur. I have a background of fashion design and apparel production. I've studied for 3 years and a few certificate programs which I've attended from NIFT Kolkata. And as a child, to tell you about my story, as a child, as a kid, I was very fascinated by the art of dressmaking, and I was always, drawing. And I also remember now, and I realized that since my childhood, I was fond of making clothes for the dolls. And then I even made a catalog to sell to my friends. Though they could not pay me in cash, they would give me like edible things or sometimes some small things in exchange of the clothes that I would make for their dolls. So this is I realized that I had in me to be an entrepreneur. But as anyone else, I completed my graduation, and it was only after the graduation that I realized that I want to do something on my own, and I realized that I was much into creating garments, which gave me more, which I felt that it would give me a more sense of job satisfaction than working in a government office. That I realized, and then I studied for fashion. I studied fashion design and apparel production for 3 years. And after that, I was very blessed enough to get immediately a job at the Global Open University.
And the pleasure that it gives you, right? And then converting that into a profession, launching a business, employing other people, helping others also find that power of change making. It's very inspiring. A little bit to talk about where you are right now in terms of the impact that you have achieved, right? I know for you, you've employed people, you've sold to so many customers, and it's a fast, continually growing list of clients. With Radhika, be it your awareness programs, the number of people you've reached through that. And also I'd love to learn more about your games in the apron and some of the creative ways in which you talk about organ donation, also because essentially you're talking about death. And how do you walk into a workshop and walk into a meeting and start talking about death with people, and especially the death of loved ones. It's very difficult to do that, but at a young age you were able to do it, and how? And what has been the impact? But I'm also Prajal with Nepangli Open Bank. I also know you did a lot of work during COVID. You worked with the government of Sikkim to coordinate COVID resources and funding and oxygen and so many different things. So I'd love to learn about the sort of impact that you've been able to create in the world as a change maker. Radhika, we'll again start with you.